Here we go. Here we go. And a very good evening to you, Grenada, and the rest of the world. Tuesday night. I'm George Grant saying welcome to the evening edition of Gudday Grenada. Folks, nice to see you. Thank you very much for joining us. And yeah, I do have company coming in just a few minutes. Hang in there, Mr. Ray Roberts, who usually joins us on a Tuesday morning, will be joining us on a Tuesday evening. The past couple of days have been, it's kind of topsy-turvy. Topsy-turvy, it's the best way to describe it. And it looks like the entire week's going to be topsy-turvy as far as tourism industry is concerned. And not only that, I think on everybody's mind right now is the coronavirus, yeah? Especially since word came out today that it's now in Jamaica. Now, there's some people who say, Jamaica, boy, that's really, really close. Well, the truth of the matter is, the virus has been a lot closer than Jamaica for several days now. It's in it's either Martinique or Guadeloupe, one of the French islands. It's in St. Martin. It's in St. Bartholomew. And of course, you know, it's in the Dominican Republic as well. So get your geography correct. Get your geography right. Jamaica is a long way from us, but yes, it's making its presence felt in the Caribbean. So be on your P's and Q's. Take it easy. Just do what you're being asked to do by the authorities. And I'm not just talking about the folks here, I'm talking about people like the World Health Organization and the CDC and whoever. Even though I'll be the first to admit to you, I'm not sure that they all have a very good grip on what's happening. If you've been following the international media, there's a lot of controversy about how well these agencies are handling this outbreak. Just a couple of days ago, I think CNN described the outbreak as a pandemic. Now, that didn't come from the WHO, that didn't come from the CDC. But CNN has taken it upon themselves to describe it as a pandemic. Time will tell. I think we've got some very, very interesting days ahead of us. Let's continue to pray to God that we will be spared the worst of it. You know, as it stands right now, you can run as much as you want, but you can't hide. Let's just put it that way. So let's take a look at what we're going to get into over the next hour. I mentioned to you that there's been some turmoil in this place. And there is one that really, really got to me yesterday. And I'm going to share that with you tonight. As you look at the rundown there, it says the Costa Magica. That's a pretty large cruise ship, 3,400 capacity, and more than 1,000 crew members. Well, she was scheduled to call here yesterday, but did not. And it's not just a simple matter of the ship not showing up. It's what had been going on behind the scenes that really irked me, hit me the wrong way. And I'm going to tell you a bit about that in just a wee bit. Yeah, I think tonight most of the stuff we're going to deal with is pertaining to the virus. And You may notice on the, yes, you do notice on the rundown there, it says, GBN captures how the earthquake aggravated damage to Molinere land slippage. Yeah, I think we're going to put that aside for tonight because I've got Ray Roberts coming in here, and I think that's what we're going to focus our attention on tonight, the virus. Okay? Maybe tomorrow night I'll try and slip this in. Some of you have probably seen this, what happened as a result of the earthquake last week. That slippage up at Molinere has definitely been aggravated. When you see that video, if you haven't already seen it, it's pretty scary stuff. So we'll forego that for tonight as I speak to you. He is very quietly sauntered in and taken up his seat just to my left here, and we'll get to him in just a wee bit, okay? The national report, I think we're also going to forego tonight because we just have a lot to talk about. And I'm sure that once I get him cranked up, we can talk for the full hour. Okay. Hey. Look at that smile. Look at that smile. Always a great little smile on his face. Okay. Now, let's get down to brass tacks. This is disturbing, but nevertheless, it's the reality of things that happened yesterday. The Costa Magica, which belongs to the Costa Cruise Line, and they have already made several calls to Grenada this season, this cruise ship season. They didn't show up yesterday. I learned this information from one of our regulars on this forum, somebody who joins us on weekday mornings. She posted something on one of my groups, Facebook groups, Sundays with George Grant, which said, and I quote, Grenada and Trinidad and Tobago, due to health regulations, didn't allow tourists on Costa Magica to disembark. So eventually, the cruisers could not visit any of the Caribbean destinations, and information was not forthcoming from the captain and crew of the ship. Hence, the guests are upset on board. She went on to say, can't blame my Caribbean islands for putting the health of their fragile population as a priority. Now, remember, this information did not come from the authorities here, but from someone on social media whom I believe is either in Martinique or Guadeloupe, one of the French islands. So, Georgie Porgy decided to check his cruise schedule, and here is what I discovered. Yes, the Costa Magica was due here yesterday morning. Well, from my vantage point here on Woolwich Road, I can tell you that she did not show up. So it's unfair to say that the passengers were not allowed to disembark. That's not true. The ship never came, okay? I then decided to call one of the leading tour operators who informed me that he had heard unofficially since Saturday that the ship would not be calling here yesterday. But up to 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon, the day of the scheduled call, he had not heard from the authorities. He tried to rationalize that Saturday and Sunday are public holidays, and so that may have been the reason why a release had not been sent out by the authorities. Okay? They put out a cruise schedule, which people plan around. They depend on that schedule. If a ship's not coming, tell them. Sometimes you have ships make unexpected calls. Tell them a ship's dropping in. Didn't happen. So next, I decided to call the Grenada Tourism Authority to find out what happened to the Costa Magica. I spoke with their communications officer, and here's how that conversation went. Question: what happened to the Costa Magica call for today? A very abrupt response. We were told that it was canceled. Okay. Curious George decides to ask another question. Any reason for the cancellation? Response, very hesitantly. I don't have that information. Okay. George is not going to give up. My next question. Will the GTA, that's the Grenada Tourism Authority, be issuing a release about the cancellation? The response, yes, but I'm not sure when. Well, I could tell this lady wasn't too happy with my questions, okay? So I thanked her for providing me with a great deal of information, and I hung up the phone. About 45 minutes later, she called me back and informed me that my question should be directed to the ship's agent. At that point, I reminded her that I've always known the Tourism Authority to be the source of information pertaining to cruise arrivals. To which she responded, yes, that is so. But because of all that is happening, you should call the ship's agent. Okay. So guess what? Georgie Porgy makes another phone call. Calls the ship's agent. Excuse me, please. Yes. Calls the ship's agent. By now, I can imagine you're sitting there at home tonight speculating as to why the ship didn't show up. You know what? I bet that 99% of you were wrong. Yeah. It wasn't because there was a case of the coronavirus on board. No, no. The ship was never turned away. It was actually a decision made by the cruise line to eliminate Grenada on this itinerary for operational reasons. It's not the other way around. But you and I didn't know that because everybody's tight-lipped. They're not telling us anything. In the absence of any information from the GTA, how could we have known? How? Did you hear any announcement in the local media? I didn't. If they did put out something, it obviously never got to me. Well, guess what? Are you ready for this? At 5:30 yesterday afternoon, I received an email from the Tourism Authority. By the way, had the ship come in, it would have been here at 8 o'clock yesterday morning and left at 6 o'clock yesterday evening. I received this email at 5:30. That's 30 minutes before the proposed time of departure of that ship. Okay? Here's the text of that email, and I quote, "The Grenada Tourism Authority was advised by local cruise officials that the Costa Magica, which was due to berth in Grenada today, Monday, March 9th, canceled its call." Really? The ship canceled its call. Please be reminded that the cruise ship schedule is subject to change at short notice. That's how the email ended. Really? Then how come at least one tour operator had heard about this cancellation since Saturday? And why are they only now telling us minutes before the ship's scheduled departure had it come in? Why couldn't the GTA simply explain that when I called? Instead of remaining tight-lipped and feeding the flame in the rumor mill, fueling speculation and hysteria out there, which is so dominant these days. If even Grenada had turned away, let's assume that Grenada had turned away the ship, don't you think that Grenadians would have been delighted that our government was being proactive and taking steps to protect their well-being? Don't you? How these people think, I'll never understand. Secrecy has become a disease in this country, even without just cause. This afternoon, the Grenada government issued the following travel advisory. It says at the top, warning, avoid non-essential travel to Italy, Iran, South Korea, China, and Germany. Widespread transmission, I'm quoting here. The government of Grenada recommends that Grenadians avoid all non-essential travel to these locations. Widespread respiratory illness caused by a coronavirus, COVID-19, has been reported in Italy, Iran, South Korea, China, and Germany. If you must travel to or from any of the above locations, please note the following. You will be quarantined for a period of 14 days upon arrival into Grenada, if you are a Grenadian national or resident. If you're not a Grenadian national, you will be refused entry into the country. Avoid contact with sick people. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, or mouth with unwashed hands. Clean your hands often by washing them with soap and water for at least 20 seconds, or using an alcohol-based hand sanitizer that contains at least 60 to 95% alcohol. That's in the statement. It is especially important to clean hands after going to the bathroom, well, before eating, and after coughing, sneezing, or blowing your nose. Supplies of hand sanitizer, tissues, and other hygiene products may be limited, so consider bringing them with you. Avoid traveling if you're sick. Please note, the 5 countries listed above are those identified today, excuse me, March 10th, as high risk, where local transmission is widespread. This travel advisory is subject to change. Now, that was the text of the advisory put out by the government this afternoon. Now, you ready for the latest? This afternoon, I received the following from the Grenada Tourism Authority, and I quote, "The Grenada Tourism Authority has been advised by local cruise officials that the Aida Perla, carrying 3,113 German nationals, which was scheduled to call on Grenada tomorrow, Wednesday, March 11th, will no longer berth. This is in accordance with the Importation Transmission Watch, which the destination is observing, and the updated travel advisory issued by the government of Grenada and the Ministry of Health today, March 10th. All right? So, folks, that's what I was referring to when I said that there's been a lot happening over the past day or so. This morning was the clincher. Today's post-cabinet briefing down at the Botanical Gardens was hosted by Prime Minister Mitchell, Health Minister Nicholas Steele, and the person who has been designated as the COVID response coordinator here in Grenada, Dr. George Mitchell. All right? I spent some time watching that, and I shook my head. I shook my head. I am going to play you a clip. Remember, the GTA said that the cruise ship canceled the call. I just read it for you. It's there on my website. You can also check it out. The cruise ship canceled its call. This morning, as I watched that post-cabinet briefing, I heard a different story coming not just from our health minister, but also from our prime minister. Just in case you might not want to believe me, I'm going to play it for you.
There were 2,000 people or 3,000 people that we turned away yesterday on a cruise ship. Are we going to ask each one of them why they came here, or what their intentions were, or who they plan to speak to? Or are we simply going to assume because they were on a cruise ship, they were all here purely to enjoy our beautiful country?
The ship that was turned away, and a lot to do, Trinidad went and issued a ban, and psychologically put a lot of pressure on us. So it was not necessarily facts-based. I don't know the facts related to it, but we acted, and I'm not sure that necessarily was the best thing to do. Barbados accepted them, and so on. Just like, you know, and Barbados still don't have any COVID problem. The flight, the same flight that we said with the Chinese passengers, Barbados accepted them, and they were very pleased. And the people are there for days. So one has to be very careful. At the same time, you have all these vendors out there hungry and looking for a livelihood. And they were waiting. Some of them bought stuff for and spent a lot of money and invested in these people coming here. And so one has to be extremely careful if we don't overreact. Because I think a lot of time we might be acting out of fear only. without facts. And I suppose the Ministry of Health and the government as a whole has to act on facts. It must be facts-based, not fear-based.
Oh boy. Yeah. Georgie's been talking to nobody. Yeah. I was explaining here, I'm sorry, you saw me lip syncing. I was explaining that apparently what happened was that the ship was not allowed to dock in Tobago. And as a result, they found themselves in a situation where they would be wandering at sea for about 2 days. And the captain decided, this is what I was told by the ship's agent, captain decided, let's go Barbados. So they went off to Barbados, okay? All right. And there's Mr. Ray Roberts, whom you saw a few minutes ago. Let me play for you one of the promos that I've finally been able to get my hands on from the government. And then, after I do that, I will come back and say hi to you folks. I'm not ignoring you. I'm not ignoring you, that's it.
COVID-19 spreads from person to person through the droplets that are produced when someone coughs or sneezes, which makes it easy to spread between people in close contact. Now let's get prepared to stay healthy. To reduce your chance of catching or spreading COVID-19, practice these simple everyday preventative measures. Droplets can also land on surfaces, so ensure that you wash your hands frequently for a minimum of 20 seconds or sing the happy birthday song twice. Avoid touching your face, especially your eyes, nose, and mouth. If soap and water are not readily available, use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer with an alcohol content between 60 and 90%. 70% is ideal. When you cough or sneeze, cover your nose and mouth with a flexed elbow or a tissue. Dispose of the tissue immediately and then wash your hands. If you notice someone has a fever and cough or other symptoms of respiratory illness, avoid close contact when possible. Let's all do our part to ensure that each and every Grenadian remains healthy. Our health is our collective responsibility.
All right, pretty well done, pretty well done. Okay, let me now say good evening to you folks. Let's scroll back a little bit. Peter Bishop's saying goodnight, and so is he's first up tonight. And Anthea Rollo, same there. And Jackie O saying goodnight all. Hope you all had a good day. Yeah, we did. Kathleen Thomas saying goodnight. Jackie O says, Mr. Grant, I like this nighttime version of the show. Ha 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 ha. Okay. May become permanent. Never know. I have to speak to the boss. T.F. Richards saying hello from Iowa. He says he hope all you good. Yeah, man, we're doing pretty good. Hello there, Sharon. She's saying goodnight, everyone. Kipling Francis saying goodnight. You guys are getting used to saying goodnight, eh? Okay, that's fine with me. Frank Alexander saying goodnight. Rachel John. Hello, Agatha Jordan. Jamaica has now confirmed that one person has the virus. Yeah, we heard that earlier on today. And we were talking about that a little while ago. Paul Richard John saying goodnight from a warm Virginia. Bernard Gilbert's there tonight too as well. And Jackie O says, Virginia, good to see someone else from Virginia on here. I'm in the northern side. Okay. And she says, Papa God, please put a hand. Devon Phillip is saying hello to you guys as well. Bernard Gilbert says no sounds. Yeah, folks, I'm noticing that we're having some buffering. Started a little while ago. Yeah, well, such is life. Sharon says, Trump, the grabberment lying. Kipling says, seems like they both have their own dictionary, but again, they know who they are talking to. Anthony Howard's there. Bradley Vespre is saying hello there. Enid's there. Bob Blanco, well, hello, Mr. Blanco. Good to see you. I hope that you guys are getting the audio loud and clear now. Michael Alexander is there, Paul Richards there, Anthony the Riggs. Devon Phillips says, those politicians in Grenada are playing with people's lives and not speaking the truth, but only studying money. Yeah, such is life. Okay, the internet seems to be back on track. Now, let me bring up my buddy. Take a look. Yellow, Brazil. Is that the color of the coronavirus? Yellow?
I hope not.
You hope? Oh, there he is. There's his audio. Ray, how are you, sir?
Well, I wouldn't complain. It's
Nobody would listen to you if you complain anyway.
I trust there may be some good ones.
Yeah.
But it's a lovely evening. Journey from Grandance, Cadiz area.
You didn't have to fight traffic tonight?
No. It's been pretty quiet. Between 6:30 and I came up here, left home about 6:45, 7:45.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty quiet. Nice journey. Beautiful breeze blowing too.
Yeah.
Right.
You need to get a convertible, man, and drive around with that.
I'm happy with where I am.
Ray, boy, listen. Corona. You tired of hearing about that?
Well, it's not, no. I think it's good to keep it in people's face. I think it's something we certainly would want to see go away very quickly. I think you listen to our local stations and regional and international, you can hear the economic news that certainly will hurt all of us. In fact, I just came from a little shopping too, bought some things. And I thought I found a couple of the supermarkets shelves not as packed as it used to be. Maybe today people bought everything, or I bought most of it. But I did purchase a little extra in case, there's, pandemonium. I'm not carried away by it. I'm taking note of the things they have recommended. I'm not carried away in any way. I'm not going to be in fear-mongering. But, some precautionary measures necessary.
I see that, in the States, people are taking this thing really serious. And, some people have gone into business to make a buck out of this coronavirus, you know.
Well, I would expect that. It's an opportunity for someone else to capitalize.
Yeah.
In terms of what you read there a while ago, it's, I hope that confusion does not continue. It's not necessary. I noticed what morning I was on the beach Monday. There was that cancellation. There was one of the chair vendors who had her chairs and whatever necessary, organized, hoping that the day would be a good day. And then around
That was yesterday.
Yes, around 9:15, I noticed that she was taking away her things bit by bit. So I then asked her, why are you unpacking? She said she just heard about a cancellation and she has to take them back to her base. She had to walk about 100 meters or so because it's from one end to another. You can't leave it open on the beach. So it's good to hear that you went researching and had reasons, because quite clearly speculation, that cruise ships are no longer desirable because of that particular coronavirus.
The Aida Perla, which has over 3,000 as well, was due here tomorrow, and it's
Right.
not coming. You're talking about that lady, the vendor on the beach, and this is what bothers me. These people knew since last week. The authorities
Okay.
knew since last week
Okay.
that the ship was not coming.
Okay.
Tell the people. What bugs me, Ray, is that some of these vendors come from the outer parishes. They have to pack their bags and their boxes and everything and jump on a bus and pay $6 or whatever it is to come downtown, try and make a penny halfpenny. And then another $6 to go back up, Ray.
Yes,
Okay?
I understand that one.
People working for the authority, to them, $12, no big deal. But Ray, these people scrunting. And to just ignore them like that and not put this information out there when you knew days in advance, that gores me. That gores me.
Well, I hope that there will be a reverse in terms of keeping the information secretive and behaving in a secretive manner. I think people understand the challenges we are now facing. So it's best that the authorities and the government come clean on every issue. I listened to the little piece he played about the Prime Minister there, and I understand what he's saying, but we got to be careful. Barbados accepted them and this one accepted them. I can get a sense of are we trying to please the crowd rather than taking the necessary precaution. I myself, as I said, I hope that fear-mongering is not the order of the day. I would want to see a lot more public address system in the communities. It's good, yes, the social media people talk about and so forth. I'm not too sure that that is the absolute for communicating. I get a sense for me that what we call the loudspeaker, go into a village and you disturbed everybody for 2-3 minutes, I am convinced throughout Grenada that would be a most effective way of mobilizing people's attention. You see, some of the media houses, yes, entertainment is basically what it is. And depending on the music, I guess the information is lost. So I would like to see a lot more. And George, I would reiterate it again that to me, there should be a constant public address dissemination of information in the bus terminus. That's the fear I have the most. Because, it's in and out, nobody is going to be constantly washing hands, protecting sneezes and what have you. So I think a constant reminder every hour, I think that is where we need to focus a lot. And in addition, the schools I was saying to one of my friends, a teacher, that I hope that we will have nurses and other health specialists on a weekly or whatever basis go talk to the assembly, weekly or whatever it is. Because if children get the message and internalize it, I think they will force their parents and whoever is around them to do it. So those are the areas I would like to see focus on, particularly the buses and the schools.
You know, you mentioned the Prime Minister a little while ago, and I'm very much on the Prime Minister's side for having said what he did this morning about the misinformation that is being put out there.
Well, he is the leader. He can. I mean, it doesn't take much for him to. I think the two people who they have in command of the health sector, Dr. George and Dr. Martin, I know them personally. I have great respect for them, and I think they're very competent. And I would join with others who have expressed that they are the authorities, and we should listen to what they have to say.
Yeah, but Ray, look at what happened this morning, or in a 24-hour period, where you have the authority, the tourism authority, saying one thing, and then the Prime Minister and the Health Minister the next day say something totally different. They made it clear in that piece that I played there for you a little while ago. The ship was turned away.
Well, I hate seeing that, George, but I'm not too sure I trust politicians in Grenada. I think lying, cheating, tomfoolery is the order of the day. I don't know that I would want to doubt them, but there's so many things that our politicians, their behavior, their track record, is not one of honesty.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I really treat everything they say with a pinch of salt.
So then you really can't blame, you know, I'm not saying the public should use the government's attitude as an excuse for lying. But, you know, people will speculate. When you don't give them information, they are going to speculate. And what happened yesterday and today was a perfect example. And that's, so to hear the Prime Minister sit there and admonish people about, you know, putting out, be factual and all this crapola, it bugs me, Ray. It bugs me. It bugs me.
Well, as I said, I noticed that they're having meetings with social partners, with the opposition political parties and others, churches. That's a good thing. Sunday in the church that I go to, Cadiz, Mount Carmel, there was a 2-minute video to the congregation at the end of the Mass. The priest, reverend, pastor, whatever you choose to call him, he also spent a few minutes admonishing the congregation. Here are the things you ought to do and what you ought not to do, and be supportive. So I would think that, well, I get the impression that we are involving all key stakeholders and people in general. So I would hope that the confusion that you just spoke about there with the cruise ship, I hope there is not a repeat of any kind involving any aspect of the society.
Just before you came, I was getting ready for the program, and I came across something on Facebook. I didn't have time to pull it up so that I could read it here tonight, but there's a church somewhere, a Catholic church, which is modifying its procedures in church as far as delivering the Holy Eucharist.
Yes, the Bishop Harvey has given instruction.
Oh, he has too?
Yeah.
This didn't come from Grenada. This was something.
No, it's here too. It's here too.
Okay.
You either, well, they're not going to refuse giving you by the mouth, but they have recommended that you take it in the hand. But they would not deny you if you want to take it by the mouth.
Okay.
Right. And there is no shaking of hands. There could be the elbow. Some people use the feet.
Forget about elbow. You know how many people I kicked down yesterday? Because we've gotten into this habit now. No more shaking your hand. The elbow is close enough. So About half, I kicked about half a dozen
Right.
people yesterday.
Right. So some people did a little bit in the church and created a laughter.
Yeah.
But there were some people who still said, look, let me shake your hands. It's, there are always people, and there were people willing to do it. I trust, George, that we all would recognize the disaster if we have, a couple of cases, because undoubtedly our health facility is not the health facility that could, assuming that, and I believe that there's some merit in it, could withstand the pressure of several cases. So we as a people must understand that, we must try to practice as much as possible the things that are recommended.
I just hope they come clean, when the first case, if it happens, when the first case is identified here, I hope they'll come to us and say, hey, pilgrims, look, it reached.
Right.
Rather than, beating around the bush and fabricating all sorts of comments has become the norm nowadays,
Yes. I trust there will be none in any case.
You
but
trust what?
I trust we will not be on the list. But George, what bothers me the most is the economic aspect of it. I mean, the dozens of people who look forward to the cruise ship, the taxi drivers.
Yeah.
I mean, the list is pretty long.
Tour operators.
Right? And then there are the people who look forward to these people purchasing food and drinks on the beach as a result of having made money from the cruise ship. Then the neighborhood shops, many of them depend on the turnover. So it has a lot of implications for us.
It does. And
the government, and I'm sure the government revenues going to be hit too, because each passenger who comes in here, what it is $3 or $5? They pay, every passenger pays something, the ship pays. So there's quite a bit that we make from these, cruise ship visits to Grenada.
Despite the fact that the hoteliers will disagree with you, they say that they're the ones who make the money in the tourism industry. I remember a time when they wanted to see us get rid of the cruise ships.
Yeah, that's true. Well, they provide, more solid jobs in terms of permanent employment and so forth. But we can't deny that the 6 months, 3 months, or 5 months of cruise ship, it makes a hell of a difference.
Yeah.
Makes a hell of a difference. I can tell you that. I have friends who are there, and pretty interesting. A couple of them said to me, the October, November, December, early part of December, it was not good, but it picked up significantly the latter part of December, January, February.
And now it looks like we're in for a deep fall off.
Oh, that's correct. That's correct, yeah.
To me, from where I sit, the guy who makes the straw hat and the lady who makes the scarf and so on, these people are just as entitled to an income as the hoteliers.
Well, you better believe it. They do a lot more than many of us who perhaps may be making more than them. The neighborhood shops and the little Wall Street coconut juice or coconut water or cane juice or what have you.
Yeah.
They keep these things going, and it's a good for the society. Government can't provide all the jobs.
Yeah.
Right. So we have to pray that this thing, does not take a hold, not just on the Grenada or the Caribbean, but on the world.
Before we get into deep doo-doo, let's pay some attention here to the folks on social media. Devon Phillips says, it is a pattern with the people in authority with a secrecy of information that the public needs to hear so the public can make the necessary adjustments. Enid says, I agree with your guest on constant info. It makes a huge difference. Louise Nyack Francois is there, and by the way, Paul Richard John says, I listened to the press briefing earlier, and two things struck me as odd. One, The Prime Minister stating that he will forego the important COVID-19 meeting to instead go to solve Guyana's election issues. He did say that, I saw him. And two, the Health Minister, in response to a press question, stating that of the persons that were quarantined, some elected to leave before the allotted days and were put on the next flight out, but not a soul from the press picked up on this. I think what he was saying is that some of the people who were quarantined were obviously foreigners, not
Okay.
yeah, and they decided. So they
That's
took-
what makes flying really interesting, and that's, as you mentioned, that they have postponed, they said, the Grenada International scheduled for the 4th of next month. And to me, that's what makes it dangerous, because you get in a plane and I don't know that, well, I know some countries, they would check you out, both coming in and going out. I don't know that we do that here as yet. I know we do coming in, but not going out. So that's what, to me, makes it dangerous, because these people, I mean, we don't know if they had any symptoms, but here they say, look, let me fly out. So they're on a plane, and again, it may be a crowded aircraft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned the postponement of the Grenada International. Yes, they were asked that question this morning, and also about Carnival. You know, Carnival, a lot of
It's
these
a
guys-
little, it's,
Huh?
distant, it's still some way up, it's still some way down the road.
Yes, and that's essentially what the minister said. He was
Yeah.
hoping, you know, that there'd be a change
Right.
and things between now and then.
Right.
But it'll be interesting to see what direction they go.
Well, I would certainly think they should keep in mind the number of concerts, shows that we have around the country that regularly seems to have artists from outside coming in, and they really bring good numbers together. I think that's what we have to pay attention to, because the behavior in these activities generally, you know, are very liberal. So I think we have to pay attention to that. And I know I heard somebody talking about the intercall at Montaigne. And that too brings, well, exceptionally large crowd. Perhaps outside of Carnival, the final day of that event brings the biggest crowd together.
Are they still going ahead?
I get the impression it's on track. I get the impression it's on track. And then the Crafter Games in the Bahamas, I noticed that there's an ongoing dialogue as to whether or not, because it's young people who go in, people who are under 20, under 17. So, as expected, mothers and fathers, guardians will be, I suspect, concerned about that kind of exposure. So there's quite a bit that is going to happen between now and Easter, because George, you have what, swimming, you have table tennis, you also have lawn tennis, junior tournaments. There's a whole list of these events, and we are, well, I'm with table tennis, and the question is, should we gamble or not? Yeah, it should. Well, it's a gamble, actually, because you just spoke about the people who are quarantined. They said, look, let me go, let me go. I mean, you leave and you sit next to that person. You don't know if he or she has the, you know. So it's really a challenge now.
Yeah. Let me pay some attention here to these folks. Devon Phillips says, this is a good reason to see that agriculture should be our #1 focus, so we can feed ourselves and not depend on too much of the imports.
Well, that's late, but that's a good advice, and maybe it's an eye-opener for us, because I gave a lady a drop this evening, and that was her concern, that our food, well, the vast majority of it, I don't know the percentage, they come from abroad. And with all these, well, the list of problems in shipyards, in docks and what have you, so much concern that the efficiency of getting food in could be a challenge. In fact, I'm told by one of the persons who involved in pharmaceutical that the sanitizer that you were talking about, there isn't any available. And the next shipment comes in on the 19th. And already there's a demand from just about every drugstore and every clinic for whatever will be brought to Grenada.
When this thing is all over, I think we're going to wind up with a new world order here. You know, it's probably going to change the way of doing things and living our lives. Yeah?
Yes, because again, you look at the recent Trinidad Carnival and you ask yourself, is this the world that we want to live in?
Yeah.
So we have it's maybe an eye-opener for us in terms of our behavior, in terms of the gentleman who mentioned about agriculture. It's something that we should think about again. And I read an article, I don't know if you read it, that they were speaking about nutmeg and the potential of it in Grenada. I thought it was a pretty good piece and very hopeful.
A lot of people read that on my site,
Right.
All right, Ray, listen, I think we're going to have to pull the curtain down, but...
Well, just before you do that, let me just offer my, and I think I could do it on behalf of all sports people, my condolences to C.K. Sylvester.
Yes.
I think undoubtedly, I send you a piece, I know you have some challenges, but if you get it, I hope you put it in your site, that if there was a great godfather of sports for the last 4 decades, I would think undoubtedly, unanimously, we will all pick C.K. Sylvester.
Yeah.
He was an awesome contributor to sports in Grenada.
I mean, he batted well, man.
97.
97?
97.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt that his impact on sports, I mean, we wish we could clone people like him and certainly have them for every generation. So I would say, George, we tip our hats to his family and those who are his immediate friends, that he will be recorded as one of the great contributors, businessman who contributed, you know, I would say unselfishly to just about every sport played in Grenada.
Thank you for remembering to do that.
Right.
Thanks a lot, Ray.
Good to be here with you.
Don't go. We have one more quick little break on the coronavirus.
Okay.
Alrighty, folks, just before we pull the plug, parting word from the Holy Scriptures, Luke chapter 6, 36, 37, and 38. Be merciful, just as your Father is merciful. Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Give, and it will be given to you, a good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. For with the measure that you use, it will be measured to you. Luke 6, 36, 37, 38. My dear friends, thank you so much for joining us. Back here, for those of you joining us in the evening for the first time, great having you. Back here tomorrow at the same time. In the meantime, God bless you.